Morning ladies and gents, how are you doing? Quick video while I'm waiting for Dino here. My old pal Paz reminded me of a story today. He tweeted this out, which is, well, I'll blow it up for you. Disgusting. They're actually pissing all over Parliament Square and the Met Police aren't arresting them for indecent exposure and public order offences. Why? And he's obviously posted a photo of what I am assuming is a trans activist fully just having a slash up the side of a statue or something, lobbing it out because they're allowed to. They're allowed to. Love that. Love that. So why am I making a video about this, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. This reminded me of a story, and I think maybe it is it's the genesis of Bootneck noticing the flagrant two-tier justice system in the United Kingdom. And it makes sense, doesn't it? It was around 2020 when the world went completely mad, when all those protests were going on, when big mobs of communists with tans were setting lots of things on fire and dismantling statues and causing millions and millions of pounds worth of damage, but nobody cared about it. And the cherry on top is the fact that everyone was under lockdown for a few months. You might remember the police were imposing it ruthlessly and sending drones after people if they went for a hike on the Cotswolds. But then, when St. George died of a drug overdose and PC Derek was unlucky enough to be near him when it happened, then millions and millions of communists piled out onto the street and had massive protests. And all of a sudden, there was no need to social distance. It was fine not to social distance because this was important. Do you remember that? Quite a crazy time if you think about it. Just hypocrisy upon hypocrisy upon hypocrisy. You have to stay in the house all day, but 20,000 communists can form an angry mob and do what they want, and the coppers will bend the knee for them. So why am I showing you a picture of an activist having a slash on a monument while remaining unmolested by the police? Well, I'll tell you why. Do you remember this story? The Guardian one's actually kinder than the BBC version of events because they didn't say near PC Keith Palmer plaque. They put man jailed for urinating at PC Palmer Memorial during protest. Again, he didn't urinate on the memorial. He urinated near it. We'll read the Guardian one because it's ever so slightly kinder. It says, Mr. Banks said he drank 16 pints the night before and he couldn't find a toilet. Fair enough. 16 pints? Strong effort, that, son. The 28-year-old man was given 14 days in prison. Yeah, that's it. Actually sent down for having a swamp in public. And he handed himself into police and apologised for his behaviour as soon as he saw the pictures of what he was urinating next to. And he didn't even know it was a memorial. And the reason he was there was to protest militant BLM demonstrators who were desecrating statues of some of Britain's greatest heroes. Even the cenotaph, which I'm sure you all remember, I made this piece of art for, desperately wishing for a return to the glory days of British policing in the 1980s when big burly former paratroopers would happily get you in a headlock if you went anywhere near the cenotaph with mean intentions. Ah, them were the days, weren't they? So, to sum up, the genesis of the two-tier policing movement in my mind is this case, because that young lad didn't even know the plaque was there. He just got caught short in public. We've all been there. He handed himself in as soon as he seen the photos. He apologised for it and said, I'm really, really sorry. And he got locked in the slammer. Meanwhile, these creatures swamping all over the capital, nobody cares. You don't even get a telling off. You don't even get a telling off. And one last thing to cover before I go off and fling myself around my room for a bit. The memorial in question is to Keith Palmer. Can you remember what happened to Keith Palmer? Keith Palmer was posthumously awarded the George Medal because even though he was unarmed, he stopped Khalid Massour, I can't say that name. We'll just call him Keith Mason. Keith Mason, definitely not a regular at the big golden bell-end-shaped church, definitely doesn't shout about Alan's world-famous snack bar all the time, and he was slaughtering people in the 2017 Westminster attacks, and Keith Palmer stopped him. So, to sum up, if you slash in public but you've got the right politics, nothing gets said. However, if you've got the wrong politics and you would have been very, very pro PC Keith Palmer because you're a patriot and you were in London because you were angry at communists destroying statues and trying to set the cenotaph on fire, and you get caught short, and you happen to be unlucky enough to be near a landmark for a police officer that you definitely would support with your politics, you get locked in prison for being unfortunate enough to have a full bladder. That's what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen, and I thought that was worth covering, just in case any of you forgot about it, because it's been more than 2 minutes, and apparently in this day and age, nobody has a memory span any better than that of a drunk goldfish. Okay? I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.